Now, New Zealand dairy farms can get solar electricity and large-scale battery storage at a zero capital outlay. This is something that's very exciting, as there is predictions and forecasts that by 2050, our energy costs are going to double. Now, joining us from North Canterbury is one of the co-founders, Peter Saunders, alongside Hamish Hutton, who came up with this idea around a campfire and, of course, have been attracting some serious attention from investors. Really looking forward to understanding how this works. And Peter joins us now. Good evening. Peter, how are you going?
Very well, Sarah. How are you?
So Sola Agri is the new player on the rural electricity scene, but with a difference. Can you explain how it works?
Yeah, so we provide farmers with a solar and battery system to meet the requirements of their shed mainly. We're not really looking at irrigation at the moment, although that will be coming down the track. And basically, we offer them a fixed tariff over a 20-year period, so on a power purchase agreement or PPA. And there's no capital outlay for them. We cap the tariffs that they pay. It'll only go up by CPI. So it's a pretty enticing offer. And we also have pretty competitive rates at the moment. So we think it's well worth a look for farmers.
Okay, so when you hear zero capital outlay, you go, hang on a minute, where's the catch? And how long will I be locked in for?
Well, the catches are you are locked in for 20 years, but you're also locked in for the tariff. So the tariff will only go up by CPI, as I said. The only other thing we ask is that we get about between quarter and half a hectare within reasonable proximity of the shed, so about 150 metres or closer preferably, so that we can put the array on. And that's on a lease, but it's a peppercorn lease, so as farmers know, peppercorn doesn't mean too much. And basically a little bit of space next to the shed to put the battery, and then off we go. And so no capital outlay pretty much means no capital outlay.
Okay, so let's talk about this in similar to sequestration of carbon and being rewarded for that. So therefore, why would I pay for the power if you're utilising my land to be able to then put back into a grid? Wouldn't it be a bonus for a farmer to get free power if they're giving over the land?
Well, they're not giving over that much land. I mean, quarter to half a hectare is not a particularly large area. In fact, you'd be surprised how small it is once it's fenced in. I think also it's fair to say, Richard Stalker, who's got our system on his farm, reckons it's probably one of the most profitable parts of his farm because over time it's going to save him a lot of money as power prices go up. And also there's a number of other benefits. We're working on making sure that the system can pick up short-term power outages. So if the power goes down for a couple of hours, then the battery will be able to take over. Well, that means that a lot of farms who are thinking about investing in generators and things like that won't have to worry about that sort of thing. The other side of it is that, and it's quite funny that we really started on this journey late in 2017. And as you know, 2017 was pretty brutal from a political perspective. After the election, most farmers sort of came out of it punch drunk, sort of wondering why they'd been picked on for the election cycle. And there's definitely some good sustainability credentials that come out of it. We like to think that it offers more than just a good tariff, and we hope that there's more than just one string to our bow, put it that way.
Reliability is certainly one of those reasons that you reach for the diesel can and pour it into a generator, and particularly from an insurance perspective, definitely when it comes to dairy. I mean, it's such a valuable loss to milk in that production when that power goes out, particularly also in the height of summer when those pivots go out because of power as well. I mean, how much assurance can you give with the gruntiness of these batteries? And is there any sort of work that you're doing alongside with insurance companies to make sure that this could be a very sustainable part of our future with adverse events, weather events?
Yeah, Well, as we were talking off air, I think batteries are going to be the way forward when it comes to picking up the grid's issues. There's no doubt. You just have to look across to Australia and see what's happening in South Australia. And they were in dire straits 3 or 4 years ago. They were constantly in a brownout situation. And Elon Musk turned up, put his big battery in, and it's actually picked up their grid significantly. It's not perfect still, but they're also doing a lot of trialing with rooftop and battery solutions to for VPPs and things like that as well. So batteries definitely have the ability to pick up things immediately as soon as the grid goes down. So from a farm perspective, it is possible, and our systems will be or are to the point where they're basically islanding, and so they can pick up immediately and just carry on seamlessly, which means the cups don't fall off. You don't lose a couple hundred litres down the drain. You don't have ECAN turning up the next day, and you don't lose revenue, which is quite helpful, really. But yeah, the biggest story, I think, is the benefits we can offer to the networks as well, and helping them with demand response, which is when the grid gets to an overload situation, usually in the winter in the evenings, but also when they have frequency or voltage issues, they get a bit wavery. The batteries in an area can help stabilize things quickly so that you don't have those problems. And we really see that having these systems dispersed out in the rural areas might stop some people's kettles blowing on a regular basis, or toasters blowing up, which is pretty regular in some parts of the country. As you get out to the stringy ends of lines and things like that, it gets quite hard to manage these problems. So having a fleet of batteries out there definitely will help these situations.
And with low lake levels as well, as the climate changes dramatically and rainfall dissipates, of course, taking on board and harnessing the sun. I'd really love to close on your learnings when you are doing your research worldwide. How is New Zealand's attitude? Are we really behind the times when it comes to our acceptance that solar is a part of our future, or are we leading in lots of ways?
It's been really interesting. When we started this journey, there was quite a lot of surprise that New Zealand was even capable of capable, that's not quite the right word, but suitable for solar, I think is probably the better way to put it. And that was from some large solar manufacturers, particularly panel manufacturers. Once we started actually doing our research, it became quite clear that particularly places like Canterbury, but most of New Zealand actually, above Reefton, all of that area above there is actually really good for solar. And so I think solar's actually got a huge opportunity or potential in New Zealand. We've been amazed by the interest shown by farmers. We thought it might be a bit of a hard talk or a hard sell, but it's, there's definite interest and genuine interest out there among farmers for this type of technology. We find that most farmers are actually pretty open-minded to any kind of technology if it helps them make their farm more sustainable or more efficient or whatever it happens to be. So I don't see this being any different to most other technologies out there. And I think we're going to see a lot more solar, but I think we're going to see a lot more renewable generation in general. So wind, I think there's a huge opportunity for tidal generation. There's some other things that we'll probably see come out. Hydrogen. I mean, hydrogen's going to be massive. Tractors and trucks in the future are all going to be driven by hydrogen. And funnily enough, you can make hydrogen out of or use solar to generate hydrogen. So I think that the energy future in New Zealand and around the world is awesome. And I really think that a lot of the carbon issues that we're all concerned about now, and we're genuinely concerned, and I think there's good reason for that. But humans are funny old animals. We keep coming up with ways of fixing our problems, sometimes a bit too late, but hopefully not too late on this situation. So, yeah.
And Peter, from all of the farmers that I know across the country, when you've got an offer on the table which is no money down and saving them money. On top of that, of course, if they can be more profitable and sustainable at the same time, she's a done deal. And of course, we had James Shaw earlier on the show, so hopefully he embraces more and more what you do and support it. Congratulations on everything yourself. Peter Saunders, co-founder there with Hamish Hutton from Sola Agri, the new thinking in this week's Farmers Weekly. And before you go, I'm just going to flick back there to Peter before he sneaks away. Peter, I did ask you that to have ready worst fashion in history, or if not best decade of fashion.
Worst fashion was shoulder pads.
Yes.
In the late 80s. And I think the best decade was the 20s.
Great Gatsby styles.
Exactly. Loved it.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sure you remember it well. That's been Peter Saunders, the co-founder of Sola Agri. And of course, they are looking for pilot farms to partake in this. Of course, it's a hectare of land and you get reduced electricity across your business and your operation.
This is Sarah's Country.